All right, let's go ahead and get started. Let me know how the audio sounds, and we'll just jump right into it. Excuse me, guys. I do have a little bit of a cold, collateral damage for having a kid in elementary school. So let me know if my audio sounds okay, and I'll just start diving into some of these charts, what you guys want me to look at. A couple interesting things that happened last week that I think we should take note of, and I'll point those out real quick. Like, really, towards the end of the week I was really focused on these ETFs, these sector ETFs. So I think they're pretty important. I mean, you got like, well, XLK, that's our tech stocks, and you can see right there. That's where we closed on the XLK, just right there. So that, I mean, I think this is going to break Monday, next Tuesday maybe. I don't know. Here's, we just went range. We went range to range in one day. You can see here on the bottom, you've got support right there. This is the pre-NVIDIA drop. So that's not really a tag of that trend line, but several reactions there. And then on the top side, you've got this wedge, right? And so bearish rising wedge, negative divergence. Everything's there. The conditions are all there. And then the one thing that's kind of interesting to see is the fact that if I just kind of delete these, clean this up a little bit, you'll see here on Friday, look at that. We went from resistance, all right? So at one point in the day, they gapped it up, and that was kind of the status quo, was like gap it up and drive it up in the morning, and they kept doing that. And then it seems like they're selling it in the afternoon, but we basically hit that resistance and went all the way to support. So end to end right there. We haven't seen that yet in terms of a 1 day end to end move. Because the wedge has been pretty wide, but it's starting to get smaller now. So I don't know. Maybe Monday they gap it up. They might keep it in this wedge. I mean, you got a little bit more time, in this wedge. That if they're really gonna push it, they could grind it in this wedge for, I don't know, maybe till the end of the month, basically. I don't think we could go much beyond that, but it's possible. They might just grind it in this wedge. Okay, but it's just interesting to see the end-to-end movement like that from resistance all the way to support. So it just helps validate it. All right, so if we gap down on Monday, that's going to be a break of the wedge and a sell signal on XLI. And so you'll want to look at your tech stocks too. And then V is your second heavily weighted one right there. There's your support. That's really kind of the key trend line that I'm watching. This can probably be tightened up just a little bit, right about there. So still holding support. Negative divergence. This doesn't have the same kind of bearish rising wedge. Probably could, it doesn't really have it. It looks more like a channel. So no sell signals there. I don't know. That might not gap down on Monday. Honestly, to say something's going to gap down on Monday, I'm just guessing, obviously, but it's interesting to see that tech stock end-to-end move. XLF, I mean, look at that. They're just grinding it day in and day out. It's running on fumes, basically, the uptrend. Basically flat, but the bulls are pretty much running on fumes. There's fewer and fewer buyers. Bearish rising wedge, negative divergence. Yeah, so again, they can continue to grind it in this wedge, which they've been doing. I mean, you can see last week was basically, I don't know, from low to about, where was that? About a 1% move over the whole week. So yeah, maybe if they want to continue to grind it for another week, they could. That would be about it. So, look, the wedge is so obvious that I don't know. I could easily see like a pop up like this where they gap it up and run it higher above the wedge just to reverse it and then tank the thing. That's if you see that, usually that's going to resolve to the downside. All right. But maybe just let it do its thing. And then you'll see that with like ANF, I believe. This is that Abercrombie stock. See that? So you don't have the wedge, but you got this upward kind of channel, just algo channel, basically. Negative divergence. And, you know, they run it to the upside right before earnings. All right. So usually when you see breakdowns or breakouts right ahead of earnings, be suspicious of those. And if you've got negative divergence, to see that move right ahead of earnings tells me, no, it's going to go the other way. And then boom, the sellers smash that thing down. Closing below support right there. All right. So that is a sell signal I added to my trade on this one on the break of that. I was kind of waiting towards the end of the day to see if they could recover it because they weren't too far down from that support line. Big move, 7%. That's a nice move in a single day. I mean, look at this. In the last three days of selling, it's wiped out, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 2 weeks worth of upward move, wiped out in 3 days. And I think there's a lot more downside here. All right, so trend line's been broken. Now, if Monday they gap it up and they're just like right here, okay, then, you know, maybe it's a false breakdown. But I got to take it for what it is as of right now. With the negative divergence, I mean, there's no point in waiting. You got to take that. That's a sell signal. So, and then the downside, I mean, this thing probably will come all the way down to about 49-ish, $50. All right, that's that one. Kyle, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. I notice you do those every week, so appreciate that. It's a nice gesture. All right, so that's XLF, and then I don't know, XLI, I guess. It's another one to look at. That one has kind of this bearish rising wedge. It's basically on the top end, kind of holding resistance. Negative divergence, but no sell signal, hasn't broken yet, so we need to just give it, you know, wait till it breaks. Until then, it can hold up. And then, so that's those sectors. I think those are kind of the major ones. Let me just flip over here real quick. Oh, XLY is another one that's kind of interesting. Here's XLY, consumer discretionary. This is basically Amazon and what's the other one? It's Amazon and let me check. Tesla. I mean, you know, here it is right here. I was looking at that, just kind of looking for some weak names or opportunities there. But you got 26% and, you know, about 30% of the ETF is Amazon and Tesla. And then the rest are kind of don't really matter. So, you know, but it looked like it was starting to break. I mean, it's right there on the trend line. That's not impulsive enough for me to say that's a breakdown. So I'm waiting, but it's right there. So I don't know. Maybe they got another surge in them, but it's right there for sure. So, and then if you want to flip over and look at Amazon, I mean, obviously holding bullish trend, but there's your trend. Support, and, you know, still holding that trend. We have negative divergence. So again, you see this break, XLY should break. And then, and Tesla's already basically broken. So that's why XLY looks weak, because you've got two stocks that basically make up that ETF. Tesla is an anchor for that ETF, and then Amazon is kind of the only one that's still hanging in there. So watch Amazon, and you'll know where XLY goes. Okay, that's those. Any other sectors that matter? A lot of these don't matter. What's retail one? Yeah, bearish rising wedge, negative divergence, still holding support. Energy is the one that I think actually looks bullish. It's at resistance right now. You can see here, this is XLE. This is basically Chevron and Exxon, but you've got resistance. I only have 2 data points, but I think we probably pull back here, get a third. It doesn't, I don't know. Maybe it breaks out, but You have bullish divergence, so that's your divergent low. It's rallied into resistance, so I don't want to go long here, but I'm watching for a breakout. I think it probably pulls back and works, consolidates a little, and then maybe breaks out in the future. But that's that one. And then obviously I kind of pointed out like this DVN looks pretty decent. It did hit resistance, so you've got some resistance. There's another one. Bullish, big bullish divergence was building, and that's a breakout. I think you hit that first level of resistance. They might pop it to the 200, but you're in a range of resistance, so maybe a consolidation, maybe a minor pullback. To me, it looks like you want to buy the dip. It could even backtest. Okay, that would be objective to go long on a backtest of the trend line. Okay, so that one looks good from the long standpoint. And I'll cover anything else that looks interesting at LLY. Still holding that bearish engulfing candle. Okay, we're still in this trade. I'm still short this thing. Again, look, I cover my short on a daily close above there. They popped it intraday, tried to run us out, but not a daily close. So yeah, that still looks good. It's that trade's still there. And then ELF is another kind of one that's interesting. Bearish engulfing with follow through selling. Yeah, this looks good. I mean, for a short trade, if I clean that up, you can see there's your bearish engulfing. There's your confirmation. All right. And then they rallied up for a few days, try to run some shorts out. Boom, down. So I think we're heading down to this trend line and, maybe get a bounce there, until support breaks, then, I can't say it's going to continue, but I think it's a really good probability we head down here, and then we'll see. I could easily see this thing going lower because look, that's the bull trend that I had. This is a back test. Boom. With negative divergence. All right. That's very objective to go short on that back test. And right at that back test of that trend line, not the first day, but the next day, you got a bearish engulfing candle, reversal candlestick. This is a trend trade. It's at least a trend. I mean, it's actionable, and it's also, it was a setup, but it's the best kind of chart you can get, to have a trend line, break a trend, back test, major reversal candle at the top on that back test with negative divergence. All right, so I think trend trade, down we go, new trend, lower, probably all the way down here to 59. All right. And then that would probably be it. I think that's it. I mean, everything else I probably pointed out in my videos that, there's obviously SMCI and there's some other ones out there, but all right, so let me get into your guys' stuff. Kyle, I'll start off with yours, GDX. Kyle, you seem to always be interested in GDX, so I assume you're kind of an investor, and you think gold is obviously going to go higher over the long term. That's just an assumption, of course. I don't know if you actually trade it, but I've pointed out the longer term picture, obviously, with gold and really gold miners, but we've got this uptrend. This is the uptrend I have in GDX. I've got the 2016 lows, COVID, this reaction here. Looks to me like we're kind of wedging, resistance, resistance, resistance. So that's resistance. That looks like good resistance. Again, I'm on a weekly chart. So, if you, as an investor, if you get a weekly breakout, okay, above this, that would be a buy signal and a long-term kind of investment signal. But that can take a while, obviously. I think we're wedging, so I don't know. Could go higher here. Maybe get a pullback. I don't know. We're in the middle of the range, but we need to see a breakout of that wedge on the weekly chart. And then on the daily, you know, decent run. I don't know. Does it continue to run? If it does, then I really think you've got some resistance. I don't know. Probably up to that trend line, really. It's about 31, 31-ish. It's kind of it's a descending trend line, so it gets less and less each day. That would be resistance. I don't know. I think you probably get a pullback right around here, though. So I think it's going to do this. All right, that's just my gut feeling. And you know, but the dollar is kind of at some support and stuff. So I think you get a pullback and maybe come to this gap. You either come to the gap entry or the gap fill. It's right there. I mean, I got to move it up somewhere right in there. I think the buyers step in and then they push it up to that trend line. That's what I think. And then if you look at the dollar, no, the dollar actually, I don't know. We had some support here. This is also, I had a kind of a minor trend line, but there's also some support right in here. You can see several reactions there. So yeah, the dollar's close enough to what looks to be some support. So I think you get a bounce. Let's look at interest rates. Interest rates. ZF. I'll look at the futures. Just slightly above the 200, but look, that's not impulsive. So I suspect you get that pullback in interest rates, which would mean rising yields. Yeah, I'm leaning towards a pullback in some of these miners. That's the way I'm leaning right now. And I mean, just to loop back around the GDX, you got to go down to the hourly. You get down to the hourly, and there's your negative divergence starting to show up on the hourly. See the momentum is dropping off. So you basically, that was peak momentum, basically. And then you've got the carry through in price, divergent highs on the hourly. It's starting to drop off. So you just can line it up like this. Let me just clean this up as I go. There's your hourly. So you got support, and we'll just say that's at support. Break of that, and that's probably going to get that pullback. Okay, that's GDX. I'm going to go back to the top. Hola. Is that hello? I don't think there's an hola. That's hello. Right on. RNG. Ring Central. Okay. Guys, drop me a thumbs up if you haven't done so. It's supposed to help the YouTube people think you're awesome or something. One thing that's interesting about YouTube that I've noticed, I mean, YouTube might, like, if I wanted my channel to really grow, YouTube incentivizes me to just jump on hype trains, jump on the manias, put out videos about NVIDIA and Bitcoin. And that's, you see a lot of YouTubers that they like, there's the one guy, Gareth, you know, he seems to know kind of what he's talking about. I mean, at least, like, I look at it, I'm like, yeah, okay. But he does tend to draw, like, trend lines with just 2 data points. So they're like, oh, here's a trend, this and this. So I don't like that. But in general, you know, but he's always pretty sensitive about Bitcoin for some reason. Like, when he as a trader will think it's going down, but he always has to bring in the caveat. But guys, just don't get me wrong. Over the long term, I think it's going to 200, 300,000. It's because of YouTube, basically. There's a lot of people who are just bullish on Bitcoin. It's a YouTube thing. So, you know, for me to put out counter trend trades when the market's going up and I'm saying, oh, I think it's going to go down, I'm always going to be in the minority. And then when if the market's crashing and I'm like, oh, guys, I think it's going to go up, I'm always going to be in the minority. So my channel's never going to grow huge being in the minority. The day I start just jumping on hype trains and chasing stuff and putting out videos, and videos going to the moon, you know, that's when, you know, that's when I'm just basically trying to make money on YouTube. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Okay, so that's a breakout. Let me just make sure my trend line's Let me double check this trend line. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to say is that's a breakout. It's a divergent breakout, all right? Here's the thing. You've got on the RSI and the PPO especially negative divergence. So I'd be on the lookout for a false breakout. It's a breakout as of now. You see this thing back below this trend line, then that's a false breakout. So who knows? Maybe they want to ramp it up a little more, make it look like a breakout. Maybe not. Maybe it's not, you know, crazy high over the trend line, but it's an obvious breakout. So the thing that I usually like to see, though, like on a breakout, I don't like to see sellers stepping in on that initial breakout. You know, if the consensus thinks that's a breakout, they would just be buying it. You want to see like a nice green candle. That helps confirm. But if you just have like a green and then there's sellers that were stepping in, yeah, that leaves me a little suspect. So I'd be suspicious of it for sure. Just keep your stops, you know, manage your stops. SPY and Meta. All right, well, SPY I think is wedging still. Yeah, well, it's right there. It's the same as all those sectors. All right, when the sectors go, SPY goes. It is, you know, it's a breakdown, but look, we're chopping through. It's the same as triple Qs. We've been chopping through. I think we're going to break, but just use those sectors. The XLK is the main sector you want to watch because that's your Mag 7s. That's your NVIDIA. That's the hype train. And then, you know, once that XLK breaks, the SPY is going to break. All right, so, and maybe that's on Monday. Maybe that's next week. Meta, still hanging in there. I don't see any technical change. I've got negative divergence, and it's just kind of grinding higher. I don't have there's no doji. You know, it's still hanging in there. If I if I go to the hourly, see if I can make out some sort of trend line to watch. Not really. Maybe that. It's about as good as I can get. So I'll leave that up there, see if that triggers anything. It's probably going to break soon, but it hasn't broke yet, so no sell signal. Bristol Myers Squibb. Again, XLV. Okay. All right. So that is a breakout. Let's just double check. This is interesting to me. Okay. I got to clean this up. Let me just extend this out. Make sure I don't jack my trend line up. Right about there. Yeah. Okay. Breakout. I don't see negative divergence. I like that as a long one. I'm going to add this to my long list. Down here we had both. That's a see the divergence. See, boom, bullish divergence. That's a divergent low. Hit it. Breakout. Momentum looks good. That's 3 days. It broke out 2 days ago, or on what, Wednesday, and it continued to close. The next day it closed basically on par, but then Friday a higher close. I like it. That's a breakout to me. So we'll look for resistance lines. Well, you got this kind of gap right there, so I think you're probably going to get some sort of reaction up around that 200-day 55.72. And this probably isn't a big mover, but let's see here. That's let's say 3.5%, 4%, because they could pop it up to the 200. 3.5%, 4% before you kind of run into some resistance. And then probably need to spend a little time looking for some trend lines here. They're not super obvious. There's one. You can see I've got support, support. There's a gap validating that. Resistance. Okay, so there's one. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a long. Maybe up to that 63 area. Yeah, so those will be some targets on that one for now. And then obviously when it pops up, you start looking for negative divergences and stuff and hitting resistance, and that will give you a clue that the move's done. But yeah, I think this is a long, so it's not too far away from the breakout point either. I mean, if you took it on the end of the day on the breakout, you're only less than 1% away from that. So if it pulls back and hits support, I like it. I like it to buy on support. I'd probably even go long here. It's just not that far away, so I like that one. Boeing resistance. Looks like we're kind of at this little pinch point here. We're kind of at support, and there's this downtrend line. So I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. You break below this level, 197.50-ish, with an impulsive breakdown, that's probably going to be a breakdown for Boeing, and I could see it. See this trend line on Boeing? Boeing is in a bear market. From 2019, you can see it's just been dropping, bear market. Now it broke out here, but still making lower highs. So I could see Boeing coming all the way down to this trend line way down here, wherever that hits, So I don't know. I'd be more bearish on Boeing, but there's no sell signal, so earnings coming up, I can't imagine their earnings have not been affected from those headlines that they had. Okay, Nutrien, NTR. Baba. Yeah, I'll get to Baba. Just give me a second. I'm kind of working my way down the list. Nutrien. It's got bullish divergence. Look at that. See, it's been building for a while. I've got this downtrend line. I think I have this in my longs. Okay, it's in my longs now. This is a long setup, not actionable yet. We need to see a breakout of this downtrend line. So that's it. And that's a daily chart. Daily's my go-to, and then I'll if I need to look at like longer term stuff, I'll go to the weekly. If I need to look at like really acute, actionable stuff, I'll go to the hourly. That's kind of where I work in. BTBT, is that a bank? Or is that a railroad? What is that one? Oh, is this Bitcoin? I don't know what this is. Bit Digital. I don't know. Okay, well. Yeah, it's not that. I don't know. I don't have an opinion. It's a junk stock, so the support I think is right about here, $2, and then I don't see any real divergences. I see an uptrend line. I kind of see momentum moving higher. The problem is you got earnings. I don't know. If I had to guess, it's gonna pop on earnings, but again, it's just a guess. There's not this trend line. I can't make a. Maybe it's a trend line, but I only have 2 data points, so I will pass on that one. Okay, CrowdStrike. Yeah, so it's funny. I get like trolls. I guess they just, want to see me fail or something. I don't know, but CrowdStrike, like I pointed out Snow. I was like, I'll come back to CrowdStrike, but I pointed out Snow, right? Snow, you had negative divergence, you had an uptrend line. All right, these are the trades I look for. I didn't see this one, but can't see them all. Uptrend line, negative divergence. gap down on earnings. Because again, for them to make the move on earnings, it's definitely like higher risk. Could have gone either way, but the divergences told me it was going to gap down, and look, lights out. And so I pointed that one out. And then when CrowdStrike had earnings, someone came out basically the day after earnings when it gapped up and was like, oh, CrowdStrike's up so much, but all they did was come out and sell it. All right, there's your earnings. Gapped up and just sold down. So they were bullish about nothing because it's down post earnings. And I think it's going lower. All right, there's your negative divergence. I have this minor uptrend line. I have a break. I have basically a back test on earnings. So you got a sell signal, back test. Real choppy ahead of earnings. Potential trend line down here. I only have, it's not my favorite, to be honest. But I think CrowdStrike's going lower, to be honest. I would, all right, so here's your support levels on CrowdStrike. You got one there, which is about 274.16. Again, don't worry about the pennies. Just, when you're close to a level, take profit, or whatever. I don't worry about the pennies. All right, so that's a level. Obviously, I got a reaction there to 240.24. There's a gap to fill. And the 200. So those will be my levels for now, 215.20. Yeah, all right. And obviously could go a lot lower, but, who knows. PLTR. So this is the AI hype train, apparently. I don't know why this one is. I think these companies just jump on board. I mean, these CEOs just see an opportunity to jump on some hype, and they pump their stock and sell into it. Give their employees an opportunity to dump their stock at high prices, allow the executives to dump their stock, allow the shareholders. Works for everyone except for the bag holders, the people chasing the momentum. So I have some resistance right here, and it looks like we're getting a reaction right there. That's a divergent high. We've actually been just extending divergence, so you've got a large divergence here, okay? Clearly a large divergence. And you also have a smaller divergence here. See the RSI turning down? PPO's already made a crossover, so smaller divergence, and there's a higher price. So we've got extension of divergence. That can happen. Sell signal. What I would trade against right now, it would be this bearish engulfing. All right, if I zoom in, it would be that right there. Friday's candle. It's a bearish engulfing. I think you're going to get more selling on Monday, follow through, but maybe not. But I just trade against that. So if you're short, I would cover my short on a daily close above, just give it the benefit of the doubt, pop it to the top of the candle. 27.25, and again, if it's like 27.45, that's not an impulsive daily close above. All right, that's like stop rate. So if they ramp it up and it looks like it's going to close a daily candle well above that bearish engulfing, then you'd want to stop out if you're shorting against this candle, because that doesn't mean it's the top. But otherwise, I would assume this is the top. I think you get some follow through. You've got the divergence. It's extended. Let's see if there's a trend line to make. The best trend line I can do is about there. So I could see on Monday them moving it down here, trying to hold the trend. You probably get a little bounce. They could even, usually when you see these engulfings, they do like to test your will, I guess, and run it up and kind of pop it intraday and kind of spook you. So again, that would be my trading plan. And I think it can go lower. There's a big gap to fill, so that would be that's an obvious target. All right, let's see where are we at. I'm making my way down the list. I'm going kind of slow. XP. Investment banks. All right, so it'd be like an XLF. You know, you watch the sector. It's about the best trend line I can make. It's okay. This one doesn't look horrible to me. I wouldn't short it. I've got this potential trend line. I've got price moving lower, but I also have momentum moving lower. So there's no divergence. So this one to me, you know, yeah, like I'd rather be long, I guess. You can buy at support. Watch XLF. I mean, maybe they might want to run up and make a divergent high right now. That seems more probable. They're going to run this thing up, pop it above about 28-ish, and that would put in your negative divergence. Then it'll roll down. Watch for that. And then at that point, it'll look like that. You'll have the negative divergence. But for now, I think I could see that. I think that's likely. They're going to run it up to, you know, it's about 10%, 11%, something like that. Excuse me. STEM, LITP, or URA. I can cover maybe one of those, maybe two, but I can't. I'm not going to do all three. So this is trash stock. I mean, they're on their way to bankruptcy. You know, I don't know. Speculative. It's a gamble. Who knows? LITP. Garbage. We'll call this garbage water. I mean, look, this is just a trap game. This is some company that was garbage. They came out. Sprott. Oh, this is the lithium miners ETF. They must be rolling futures or something. So there's decay. Is it leveraged? Huh. Sprott lithium miners ETF. Is this like junior lithium miners? I don't know. Well, I would say that just watch this trend line. No buy signals. I don't really see bullish divergence either, so I just see a downtrend. Okay, so that's that one. URA. Uranium. So there's your negative divergence on uranium. See that? Okay. So you've got peak momentum back here. There's your peak momentum, and then you've got the divergence. And each kind of divergence looks like it's getting sold into. You know, divergent high, sell, divergent high, sell. Not my favorite trend line, but that's the best I can do. So if I had to guess, this thing's going lower. Looks like I've got some decent support down here, so that would be my guess. Down to that support level. Down at 1870 or 1875, somewhere in there. Okay. Realty income. Is that, which one's that one? O? Is that O? Yeah. So there's your trend. Again, I'm a little loose right in here. You could tighten it up, but close enough. And then just give me a second on that one. Yeah, I like that. See that? There's just a little lesson. Okay, the trend line is here. All right, that's the best I can do. I got one reaction. one reaction there, two reactions. So I don't really have a trend line, but look, you gap down. All right, that's a third reaction. Anytime you gap to it right to a trend line or below and it reacts, that's a trend line. Boom, gap down. I guess that was right before earnings. Let me look. Yep, right ahead of earnings. You break that trend and you do it with bullish divergence. High probability of a false breakdown. See, if you were paying attention and you saw the breakdown, you're like, oh, they broke trend. Or, you know, they do big moves because it's got to spook people, you know, and this is what, a drop of 5%. So boom, big breakdown. But I'd say, no, I don't know. It's a divergent low. I think there's a good probability it's a false breakdown. If you wanted to be conservative, you could just wait for it to recover. Of course, they close it right here and then gap it up. But that would be that right that day or that moment. Anybody who shorted the breakdown was trapped. Shorts cover, longs pile in, and you get that. So that's that. That's what it looks like. Right now we're right in the middle of the zone. It's in a downtrend. So I don't know. It's no man's land. It's go with the trend. You know, it's a prevailing downtrend. Could go up here and reverse. Could go down. I don't know. Okay. GOEV. This is one of those SPACs that was dumped on the market. So there's a SPAC. Or no, actually it wasn't. I thought it was a SPAC. Was this a SPAC canoe? I could have sworn this was one of like Chamath's things, but I know those SPACs come out at $10 a share. It looks like a SPAC. Did they do a bunch of reverse splits or something? There's a split there. I see one right here. Yeah, 1 for 23, reverse split. So, oh no, that's just a split basically. 1 share for 23 shares. That's just a split. But that's why the price looks all weird. But I can tell it's a SPAC because those SPACs started at like $10. So this before the split was at $10. And then when they SPAC it and they do the acquisition or whatever, and that was right during the 2020 pump and dump. That's exactly what you got. You know, speculative pump. Hype train, people sold into it, made money, and bag holders lose. So, I don't know. Kiss your money goodbye is what I'd say. It might gyrate around. I wouldn't touch this thing. It's negative divergent, or you don't have divergence. You just got downward momentum, downward price. It's done. Okay. Rio Tinto. I just see downward price action. We've got downward momentum, downward price action. Potential trend line here. I've only got 2 data points, but I don't know. As of right now, I'm going to have to say this is heading down there, and then you get the reaction. So if it heads down there and you start to see some sort of reaction where it's validating that as a trend line, then I think you could maybe look at a long. But, yeah, I wouldn't be interested in it until down there. And that's what's kind of held me off on this volley one, too, because these are both the same. And volley's got some bullish divergence here, but that Rio doesn't look the same at all. And this is also could be a bear flag. So I'm passing on that one. And then I think BT, what's the other one? BH Pilton or BHP? BTP? I don't know. It's like BH Pilton, I think is the other one. Let's see here. Newmont. Well, I already covered GDX, and Newmont makes up a huge part of GDX, so I'm expecting a pullback. We can look. I mean, I think you're at some resistance right here. You can see there's some reactions. I think it's enough to say we've got some resistance. So, yeah, I'm expecting a pullback. But gold is on a break. Well, here's the other thing. I adjusted my gold futures for the contract roll. And I do have, this is your gold futures here. Gold futures, it looks to me like they went all the way up here to about 20. Oh, I can't even see because the stupid thing's in my way. 2282-ish. And so, I don't know. That looks like a downtrend line to me. Resistance, resistance, and we're getting a reaction. There's your pullback. So, yeah, I think you're going to get that pullback. Excuse me. Coin. All right, this one's interesting. I think this is a short soon. If not, let's double check here. Okay, so you've got negative divergence. Just keep marching that higher. That's what I've got. What I think it's negative divergence with a bearish rising wedge. It is pointed up, so the PPO has kind of started to burn down. They'd have to turn it down really soon. And if you get that, you're probably going to break this wedge and then head down to this trend line down here, this longer term trend line. Support, support. Okay, so watch for that. I don't know if it does it. It's conditional, but this is resistance right through here, this horizontal line. We're above resistance, but we are doing it with negative divergence. So again, you need to see it turn down soon. Otherwise, it'll burn through the divergence, and then it doesn't have the same look. So, yeah. Okay, Starbucks. Oh, what is Starbucks? I've got it here somewhere. I forget what the symbol is. Starbucks. Anybody know what Starbucks is? Pretty good at memorizing most of them, but S-Bucks. That's it. I know I have it on one of my watch lists, but I actually think I just deleted it because it didn't look that interesting. Probably heading lower. You've got downward momentum, and I have downward price action. There is no divergence. So, I would say it's very likely you're going to take out this low, put in a new low, and then we'll see what the chart looks like. Does it have bullish divergence at that time? Does it not? As of right now, I have a downtrend. All right, lower highs, lower lows, and I think you're going to go make a new low. All right. Okay, so that's that one. Baba. Okay, so there's a downtrend. Okay. You're in a downtrend. You have bullish divergence. No breakout, no buy signal. I'd be on the lookout for it. But it's not there yet. So, look, and they faked you once. That's fun. Was that on earnings? No, it wasn't. I mean, they faked you once. That's an impulsive breakout. It's a big gap up. It held up right up there. I mean, they would have got me on that one. But, when they gap down the next day, you got to bail. So you just take that loss. What would that loss have been? 2% loss, basically. So I'd be on the lookout for the next breakout, because the next breakout's likely going to stick. And you just take it when you see it and then stop out if it fails. You got bullish divergence, so yeah. You know, I'd be on the lookout for it, but it's not there yet. So breakout of the trend line impulsively would be the next buy signal, and this thing should go higher. All right. Ravi, I think I already covered a couple of years. Let me see. No, I guess I didn't. CHTR. I'm going to go for like 5 more minutes and then wrap up. Okay, so TV channel, radio stuff, whatever this is. Okay. All right, so I'd say you're at some support here. I think this is support or close to. It's about 271.59, which is how far away are we from that? You know what? That's 4% or so away. But you're at support. You've got some bullish divergence starting to show up here. Okay. I mean, you look at the volume. I don't point out volume too often, but look at that volume, right? Look, see this down move and look at the volume. That looks like a selling climax to me. So I'd say this thing's probably pretty washed out, which is good. If you want to be long, you want shorts and stuff out of this thing. Or, you know, you just want the weak-handed longs out of it. You want to build, you know, strong hands. You've got some bullish divergence. If I had to guess, I'd want to go long here on this stock. Maybe not like right here, but let me see this hourly. It's a big washout move, to be honest. I can't make a trend line there. Use that trend line on the hourly as your buy signal. Okay, you break out, that's probably your buy signal. And yeah, I'd be more interested in the long here. Okay. I covered XLE already. Tilray. Interesting enough, I was looking at those pot stocks to see if we were gonna, because we were seeing the mania in like the altcoins, and anytime you get just like mania mode, it's like people jump in and just buy junk, you know, and they just spike straight up. So I was looking for that, and so I looked at it's MG, I'm pretty sure. Could have sworn it was MG. How do you spell marijuana? I thought it was MG, the ETF. It's not popping up. Huh. Interesting, but they weren't really getting the spike. But we'll look at Tilray. Oh, MJ, yeah, that's it. Sorry, guys, just kind of MJ. Yeah, and see, we didn't really get that kind of mania spike. I mean, look, this thing's just dumpster fire. It has broken out, so I think it's probably bottomed. Could just be dead money, though. I mean, like, this fell from 35 all the way to 3. You pretty much lost all your money. I just didn't see anything in the charts that told me, oh, this is next for some parabolic move. So, you know, I guess these just aren't in favor anymore. Tilray, negative momentum, negative price action. See, look. Bullish price action. All right, you're moving higher lows at least. You didn't get a higher high. Bullish momentum. All right, it's not divergence. It's not telling you a trend change is likely. And trend change is where, you know, you catch a bunch of people off guard and they all have to reposition, and you can make a lot of money in that being first, basically. And then, you know, downward price action, downward momentum. So I don't know. I'd go with the trend, which is down. This thing's about bankrupt. I mean, geez. I don't know if it can get much lower, but honestly, it's almost junk stock. It's almost like pink sheet territory. I wouldn't touch it. That's just me. You might get some speculative like warrior trading pop, because that guy, I don't know what the float is on here. If it maybe it's too high of a float, but he loves to bait his subscribers into low float stuff. So he'll own it ahead of time and then show you on his thing that he's buying it. He probably owns it in a different account. Shows you real time that he's buying it with a different account. It pumps because it's low float. You sucker in 500, 600 people to buy 10, 20,000 of something with the low float. It spikes, he dumps into it. That's how that works. At least that's my assumption. I don't know for sure, but it's my assumption. Just my opinion, I guess. SKYT. Never heard of this one. Skywater. Industrial machinery. All right. It's the best trend line I can make, and I'd say it's a breakout. It's looks it's a divergent high right now. So you've got, it is divergence. This is diverging. It's not confirmed. The PPO is still pointed up. If it turns down, it'll confirm. It is diverging. But yeah, I don't want to short it. I don't know if I don't want to go long right here. I want to go long on the breakout. I want to go long right there. This is the kind of stuff I try to point out in the private member group, is when I see this stuff, I throw those trades up and say, there you go. Doesn't mean it's going to work instantly, and you can see in this one, it did work at first and then it sold, and, but in general, it's a swing trade. Now up here, I'm not so sure. What I would do is, if I was long, I would probably stay long and trail my stops, and I would just watch this trend line and close out if it breaks. But if it continues higher, you're going to burn through the divergence, and it'll be healthy. Everything will look fine. So, all right, one more, guys. Last one. It's going to be, I guess, Dollar General. Looks healthy to me, I guess. Not a great trend line to really make, so I don't know about that. And you have earnings Thursday next week. So it's clearly a gamble right ahead of earnings, because if this trend line, if this trend line is a valid trend line, it's only 2 data points, so I can't say it's a valid trend line. But if it's going to be, they could gap it down on earnings or move it lower and hit that trend line and then validate it. So ahead of earnings, it's just a crapshoot. Where this thing's positioned at, you've got this gap fill. There's another gap overhead. They could pop it on earnings way up here. I could see that happening. You're not, there's just not enough information for me to give good technical analysis to where it's at right now. What I would say is, determine what you want to do. Do you want to gamble? Make sure your position size is right. If you win that gamble, then it probably moves up to here, and that'd be a good spot to exit that gamble. Okay, I think that would make sense to exit that gamble. I don't even know if it'll fill the gap, but it'll get close. They'll make it look like it's close. I would exit the gamble on that kind of a move. How far up is that? So 20%. Okay, so stocks have been doing that on earnings, so I would exit my gamble there, and then if you lose the gamble, it could come down here, and if it bounces off of this, or you see some sort of support there to validate that, maybe you could go long there. All right, I'd want to exit here and maybe buy there. Maybe buy there. Because again, I only have 2 data points. I can't validate it. I need to see it hit and react and maybe start to bounce off of that before I'd be interested in buying there. I don't have any real divergence. The momentum looks okay. So to me, like if it goes down, I'd be more interested in buying. But again, I need to validate that trend line. And if it goes up way up here, I just exit and take my money. Okay, so that's that one. That's all I got, guys. So have a good weekend. Hopefully you found some value out of it. And I'll catch you guys next week. All right, take care.